Hey guys, if you remember yesterday, we built the first part of the UI kit, which was the button, and we had a few things that we needed to sort out. So if we jump over to Figma now, I'll get this started. So I actually hit my timer this time just to keep me on track a little bit. And this is where we sort of left off. So we had a few comments, so maybe consider reducing inner stroke. Make sure the bevel scales nicely with dynamic constraints, maybe looking to color matching a bit more accurately, roughen up the edge potentially, try to enhance the outer glow, missing text color, and ensure the button can gracefully resize dynamically, which is sort of similar to this type of thing. So for now, I'm just going to turn off the comments, and I reckon, well, we'll do a few things. So just turn the color off. Because the button's more likely to stretch this way or widthways, I'm probably gonna push the bevel effect to the side. Just gonna hit enter to get into it. Just zooming in. And then that will allow me to anchor it left and right, which is probably going to be a bit better for what we want. So I do Command D and then Shift H again. And now we've got the highlights on the left and right. But we'll adjust those and we'll actually adjust the gradient so it's lighter that way instead. So let's remove the bottom bevel for now. We shouldn't really need it. I'll just grab that color and I'll grab the highlight color at the top. And these bevels, they have do they have a little gradient? Probably not like an obvious one if they do. So I'll just sample sort of like the mid color. Let's just look into if we just lower that a little bit. Gets us something pretty close, doesn't it? Which I think looks fine. And so that would be right bevel, and that would be left bevel. Okay, we've got a button base, two button bases. What were they doing again? Was it the stroke and the inner stroke? Yeah, okay. So let's rename that inner trim rim, inner rim. There we go. And this one, gradient. Okay, so that's fine. Another one was just bringing the stroke back, the overall stroke back. So let's just lock down that color for now. So we've got inner frame 2, and inner frame 3. So if we bring this back, say, let's do it to 7. And this is going to have the outer frame, so that'd be 6. And then this one, bring that back to, what is it? Let's say roughly 9. You know, you could always go half pixels and stuff if you wanted to, especially with this type of UI. And this would be 10. Okay, so that's already looking a bit more interesting, I would say. But we do need to adjust these. So let's just, we can get right in there and just get it as close as we need. And we'll do the same for this. And then we'll just repeat what we were doing. And again for this. Yeah, that's immediately looking better, I think. And that's all right, you know, like when we're doing these videos, it's okay to sort of commit to one thing without overthinking it too much and then just sort of reflecting on it and, you know, giving yourself time to sort of pass what you've done and, you know, get it all ordered in your head, and then you can come back the next hour or day or whatever it may be and sort of iterate on it. But I would say that's definitely looking better. I think maybe these could be a little bit brighter in terms of the value. There we go, just catching the light a little bit more. It's quite nice. And yeah, there's a little bit of an edge highlight there. But before I go down that route, let's just sort of take a look at the comments. So yeah, we still need to do that. Okay, so we've done that, cool. Color matching, roughen up the edge, enhance outer glow. Okay, cool, so we've done one, but that's all right. If we go to the outer frame, so that would be that, and let's see what an effect would look like. So like a little inner shadow, remove the Y, and just, we might not be able to be honest, because it's not a square anymore or a rectangle. So if we did want to have an inner shadow that sort of covered the whole thing, would have to do it this way, which it's not the end of the world. You know, we should still be able to get sort of what we want. Maybe something a little bit more interesting, to be honest. So I'm just going to put these values right up, and then select like a nice gentle overlay. Probably sample the same for that, or a bit lower in the end. And let's tweak this. You would get like a little bit of sort of light hitting the edges, maybe some bounce light or something. And every time I look at my little picture, I'm all hunched over, and I just need to sort of keep reminding myself to sit good with decent posture. It's easy to start slouching. Okay, so that's looking good. And the other comment was about the color matching the text. So I'd probably do that with a style, a color style or something like that. Before I get to that point though, let's just see what we've got. It's like a new day, and I've sort of forgotten what I had done. Oh right, that's just that one. I mean, that wasn't even 2 minutes ago. Okay, so the inner rim has the drop shadow. We could probably stack another one on it. Let's see, and then remove the just to try and boost it a little bit. And that will give us something a bit closer to those hot points that we've got there. I wonder if we do like a bit of a plus lighter or something. Something like that's quite nice. Do a bit of a spread. Yeah, what happens if we blur that? And then it's just a spread. A bit tighter, maybe make it a bit whiter. Right, has that made any difference? Oh, it's definitely made a difference. Okay, nice. That's it's looking like it's got potential. Now the colorway's fine. Oh, it's the color overlay that actually had the other drop shadow on it. Maybe I can put that onto here. A little bit of housekeeping. There we go. Keeping house. And a little bit hotter. Maybe just spread that a bit more. Bit blurrier. There we are. So that's a cool, nice fall off, isn't it? Cool. So that's like the highlighted or hovered effect, I guess. So we've got a default. We're happy with that. The top bevel, which is, well, it's not a top bevel anymore, is it? Oh, it is for this one. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, it's a gradient. And one of the things was like, try and color match it a bit more. So instead of using the multiply, we could try this route. But I think what I'll do is I'll come back to this, and I'm happy with where we are with it for now. Give or take a few minor tweaks, like putting in so we've got a nice drop shadow there, maybe increasing the spread of that a little bit. Do something like that, potentially. Yeah, so leave that like that for now. I'm just gonna get everything together, put it in a frame. So this would be button for now, and we'll come up with naming conventions and stuff like that when we start to sort of like build out more of these. But for now, I just wanted to sort of trial something, which is to just do a little comparison if I was to take away the color overlays and actually just sort of like color match things. So for example, this would be that color, then that would be darker. That looks ugly, but it should be okay. And the middle part of the button, so it's got that gradient that we did. So let's just sample the middle bit, the top bit, Control C, Control V. That's fine. And the little inner rim bit, which actually looks like it could be a gradient. So we're sampling the top one here, which is roughly that color. And then roughly that color. I think there's some sort of effect bleeding over it, or I think it's this one. It's got an inner shadow on it. It's because it's only applying the inner shadow to the stroke, so if we increased it, eventually that would hide behind. But then you would lose your bevel effect. So you want the inner shadow to be some sort of color that helps it blend a little bit. Cool. And let's just tidy some of this up a bit, if it lets me. I don't really know why right now it's oh, look at that, shocking. Yeah, I don't know why it's not really snapping to the pixel at the moment. I don't think it usually does it. It does this, but yeah, it's a little bit annoying. That's a bit better. So again, we've got the gradient here, but it just feels like that sample didn't bring in enough of that color. So I'm just going to eyeball it for now. And then the middle part is a little bit redder. Let's just pull the gradient off slightly. Okay, cool. So I think that probably looks a little bit better, to be honest, than the overlay approach. This is the cheap way, I guess, like the quick way to just get an idea down. But then this way would be a sort of a more sort of refined way if you wanted it to. So now we need to adjust all of the gradients. And just sampling again. So if you're following along, you know, you can just sample away as well. I'll make sure the reference image is attached. That's good. And so inner frame 3. Yep. And that's going to be a similar sort of color to that. And then we'll just copy and paste that for inner frame 1. If you wanted to soften that a little bit, I know it's because we're like really zoomed in, but if you wanted to soften the effect or the transition, you could probably just add an effect to it and go for like a layer blur or something, bring it right down. And that's affecting the outer bit as well, which we don't really want in this case, so I'll just remove that. But as you can sort of see, it just creates a little soft sort of fall off, which, you know, might be something that you're interested in or not. And I think I'll sort of leave it like that for now, because at this sort of level, yeah, it looks fine. Like no one ever really looks at a button like this unless we're sort of like, you know, breaking it down. And then the highlights on the corner. Let's sample that. It's probably too much. Just remove a bit of the saturation out of it. Same for here. Sample this guy, and can we multi-select? I can't remember. Something like that. Yeah, that's looking all right. You know, again with the corners, you could always, if you wanted to, add a layer blur to them, just to subtly soften that transition ever so slightly. If you wanted to smoothen it out, looks quite nice like that. But I'll leave that for now. I want to try and tackle that that next step that I've kind of been putting off because I just know it might be fiddly and not make for great footage. But right, what we got? So we've got a 640 by 360 canvas. So this button's massive, really, for a canvas. Not this size, but the size it will become. So at some point, this would go up to like 1920 by 1080. But even then, like that button's, you know, massive. So you would probably like scale it or something. Let's see, K to scale. Yeah, so you're probably dealing with something like that. Maybe that's a bit small. But as you can sort of see, like when we're like really zoomed into it, it's nice to sort of get things exactly where they need to be. That looks good. But when you're viewing this in the context and on this sort of display size of the screen and stuff, all of those details kind of merge together and soften. So you don't want to overload the button with like too much detail, because then it becomes really noisy. And yeah, you don't necessarily want that. One thing, in some of the kits that I did, I'd put a like an overlay um, on top of it, which is gonna hold like a little bit of noise or something. And that might be a little bit easier to do. Not that it was really on the agenda, but if you wanted to have like a little bit of wear on the outer parts, you could add an effect. Now, I wanted to do a bit more of a tutorial on all of this at some point, but you've got textures and stuff like that, and these will be applied to whatever is active. So you've got your stroke and your noise. So to add a little bit of sort of visual interest, we can wiggle these and sort of chip away at it. And as you can sort of see, it just sort of breaks up the silhouette a bit. Not really what we've got going on here, but maybe this is too clean. How about we, sort of just chip away a little bit here and there. And so that's that one. We've got the outer frame, which is that. So we could probably we could keep that catching the edges like it was being, worn away or something, and then we'll apply it to here as well. And let's just sort of see what effect we're getting with these. So the noise, we don't have any control over the style of noise in the sense of like, the texture it's given us, but it does allow us to change the colors and stuff. So if I imagine this was some sort of like painted metal, and the highlights are the bits that have worn away, and then with that it's kind of like taken little speckles here and there, probably a bit too intense, but we can see how that looks. And that's looking quite nice, actually. I like that. Right, so on to the next bit, which is, I think, the bit to do with allowing it to dynamically sort of resize or as much as possible, just so when we make a reusable component out of it, or utilize the reusable component, we'll be able to adjust the width a little bit easier than having to have these fixed sort of button widths, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but we want to have, that sort of freedom really. So that was one of the reasons why I set up all of these. Now I just need to go through quickly and just figure out what's doing what. So if we right click and then we create a component, we should start to see like what sort of stuff is behaving and what isn't. And yeah, this looks like a bit of a pain. So I need to figure out how exactly we're gonna sort of achieve what we need to achieve really, and what's going on. So if we start with the bits that are not really behaving, which is that if we stretch it vertically, which is always a problem. Okay, so that's not left and right, we're going to keep that left. So that should solve that problem. Yeah, sort of. Although it does shift, which is weird. And that's right. So we'll keep that top and bottom, see if that fixes anything. Top and bottom. Yeah, that seemed to fix that a little bit. Text is still good. Okay, so that's left, top and bottom, or left and top. These don't have any constraints, so that's probably one of the reasons why they're not behaving straight away. The base, left and right. See if we get anything there. Okay, that's really odd and interesting. And then we've got, change that to left and right, left and right. Right, so that's resizing okay. There's the weirdness with these. Now I just need to figure out what the heck is going on with those. But that's the little corners that are not behaving, which for some reason, as you can see, is when we converted it to a component, it's decided to adjust its behavior based on what we set up. So that's something to look out for. Let's see if just quickly going through this and adjusting these settings fixes anything. There we go. So I would expect this one to behave. Yes, so that's behaving behind, which is good. Okay, now we need to do it again for these. I'm probably just going to speed this up, to be honest. Although the idea of these videos is that I lower the barrier to entry so I can get this type of content out a little bit better, faster. So maybe we'll just go through it and you can just sort of skip ahead if you want. Yeah, it's really annoying that it did that. Oops, that way. And that shape is going to be left and right, top and bottom. Left and right, top and bottom. Okay, so let's see how that's behaving. Any better? Yeah, I think that's looking what I'd expect right now. I still need to do this one, which is left and right, top and bottom. Let me update that too. Left and right, top and bottom. Right, so oh, unless it's inheriting the settings from the root, which is not what we want really in this case. Okay, so how's that looking? Any better? We've got one more. So this is what I was talking about in the other video, is like, in order to get these like bevel effects, it's kind of really sort of tedious in the sense of like going through and refining these things. You have to, you know, edit quite a few different layers and stuff because they're not really supporting multiple strokes with multiple variations yet, like you would get with Illustrator. Wow, that's mad. And then let's see, something went wrong, didn't it? Yeah, I think I've just gone through and just messed everything up again by overriding the, so I'm gonna definitely speed through this. Okay, so hopefully this works. I really don't know. Not tested it, but yeah. Okay, so we've got what we want. Now my timer actually went off, so we've been doing this for 30 minutes, if you can believe that. But I think we've done the main bit. I just need to adjust the text. And then I think I will lightly edit this video, so we've got I'll remove those really boring bits where I just messed up the stuff that I kind of fixed before. And so fixed size, auto width, so we could do that, and then that will sort of like hug the contents, but let's do it fixed size for now, or this option here, so auto height. We'll do fixed size. And if we set that top, there we go. So that should nicely sort of expand with what we've got going on for the text, which is good. So we shouldn't have to do any like overrides or anything like a little bit later on. So that's that. And I guess the only other thing, just so we can wrap up this morning stuff, if we go to view, we'll take a look at the comments, which are probably going to be up here now. Yeah, so we've done that, which is good. Missing text color we still need to do. I think we have color matched it, and I'm sort of happy with that. Roughen up the edges, we did that, that's looking good. We enhanced the outer glow, and then, yeah, we ensured that. So the only next thing is the missing text color, which I think will be something we'll do now, just quickly. So if you just make sure you don't click on anything in particular, just the sort of the canvas in the background, press the plus on the style, and then you can create a color effect here. So if we just go up to here and sample what that color is, in fact it changes, so let's go into Photoshop, zoom into the higher quality one, or in fact let's just zoom into the actual text itself. Here we go, got our hex code. Now I'm going to create the color. So text color. Put a description. Let's put used for button. Yeah, button text color. And maybe it's going to be used for the headings as well. Let's just take a look at Photoshop. Or maybe it's for all. It's all text. Yeah, so it's more like used for default text. And we can change that a bit later on. So let's adjust the property. There we go, we create our style. And then if we select on the fill, which is obviously currently white, press these 4 little circles, and then you'll see that we've got our option there. So the beauty of that is if you wanted to adjust that later on, because you're using like this sort of like token, you'll be able to just sort of go in, edit it here. Let's duplicate these a few times. Instead of having to change them all individually, we'll go here and then we can just change them all in one go. So this would be great for global styles. And yeah, I think that's it for now. So we've covered a few things. It's looking as I'd hoped. Like we're about an hour in, and we've kind of built what we need, and it's dynamically resizing and it looks clickable, I think is the important thing. The the next steps would be to, well, take a look at the Photoshop file and just decide what we're going to do next. So we've got our button, that's looking really nice. Maybe we can move on to sort of reusing the panel, the buttons frame style that we've created and using that for the panel. Maybe trying to capture a similar effect for the circular versions of these, and yeah, see how far we get with that. So that's likely going to be the video in the next few days, being the weekend soon. So I just wanted to do one thing before we start the next one tomorrow, which is we just go through what we've got. We kind of do like a mini sort of like retrospective and just sort of drop some comments and any feedback, or, you know, just to keep the like iteration loop going and yeah, bringing other people into the mix. So let's go back over to Figma, and we've got the button. I'm going to turn the comment, oh, the comments are already on. I'm just going to press C to enable them. So obviously we resolved all of our comments from before. But is there anything here that, you know, could be improved? Anything that we could sort of change to, you know, make better? And if there isn't, then it's just sort of a case of leaving some notes on what we're going to probably attack tomorrow. So I'm just going to look at these. So there's a few weird sort of like transitions here from a bit of a distance. Like we could look into softening them, like we're sort of doing with this here, we're softening that. So maybe rethink the edge blurring or improve it. And I think now would be the time where we would want to do that before we turn it into panels and other types of things. So maybe soften transitions here just a little bit. And let's see. I think generally everything else is okay for now. What I do need to do is just, now we've got our main button prefab or component, we're going to want to create the other states for it. So we could create like a component set using these types of things. So if we had two of them, we'd be able to create like a little component set. Where is it? It's there we are. And then we'll have the different states and stuff like that potentially. I'll undo that for now. So, but that is a point. Let's create button states. And the types of button states will have our default, highlighted, which could kind of be like the CTA as well. Then we'll have pressed, and then we'll have inactive. Let's see that. Looks good. And I think that's it for now. One quick note about, we spoke about how we were going to work on the panel style next time. Cool. So yeah, that's it. I think this is really interesting to do this because if you're going away or if you finish work for the day and you come back the next day, not only is this information going to be sort of floating around in your head, but now we've captured it, we can just forget about it, and then we'll come back to it fresh, and you can relax in the evening. How about that for a change? And yeah, that's that. So our mini sort of like retrospective or feedback loop, which is obviously an important part of game development and UI development.